Hi, I'm Peter Ausenhus. I'm the brewer and owner here at Worth Brewing Company in Northwood, Iowa.
I'm Margaret Bishop, co-owner of Worth Brewing in Northwood, Iowa.
I think my passion for brewing probably stems just from my curiosity about how things are made. I enjoy beer and drink beer, but I think when it started 30 or 40 years ago, it was just, I was wondering how beer is made. And so I started researching it, reading books, doing some, what I could do back in the 80s. There wasn't as much out there as far as stores, things like that. Well, the first batch I made, this was back in 1987, it was out of a can, and I added a bunch of sugar and some dried yeast, and it just made some awful beer. But I wasn't discouraged. It was a fun procedure. It was kind of a fun hobby. And from that point, I had some little bit more success with the next one, and it just kept going. The thing that led to kind of opening a brewery, a professional brewery, we live in a small town here, and a restaurateur was interested in whether I could brew some beer for them to sell. That just got me thinking a little bit about brewing on a professional scale. I was also interested in historic preservation. We have a lot of nice buildings in Northwood, and there was a building available. And Margaret and I talked and decided that it would be an opportunity for me to combine two of my interests, historic preservation with brewing, and kind of open up a part-time brewery, just a small-scale brewery. When we first started brewing here across the street, we were making 10-gallon batches, which, you know, there were home brewers making bigger batches than that at the time. So it was pretty small. People have come to call it nano brewing in the interim since we've opened. Now we're brewing 210-gallon batches, which is still fairly small from a professional brewing standpoint, but 20 times the size of what we used to do, so quite a bit bigger.
Well, I am a mechanical engineer, and I'd been working for a consulting firm in Minnesota, and I decided for some crazy reason I could go out on my own and start my own firm, so I did. When I started my business, I actually took a fast track class on how, the different aspects of running a business, and I found it so helpful. So when we started Worth Brewing, I said, you have to go to Pappajohn and take that class just so you learn the different aspects of the business besides brewing. So that was our first step into the Pappajohn Center. And then as we talked about this expansion, they have been there right with us all along, helping us plan how to look at the distribution part of the business.
When we started to expand the business, part of the reason was that sales kind of leveled out. We felt we needed a business model that included an event center, something that would bring people into our small community. The distribution part of the business was the one area that I really didn't have any experience in. I was used to selling beer to people directly, right in my tap room. The beer didn't have to go very far from the vat to the customer. And so it was a challenge, and I needed help on the business side of it. I didn't really have a lot of business training, and it just helped focus me, not just on the parts that I knew, but forced me to learn a little bit more about the business part to make it a successful endeavor.
We were working pretty hard on, for a couple of years, trying to put our financial package together, the buildings, where we were going to be. And the day that finally came together was, it's something you've worked so hard on for so long, and all of a sudden it's reality and it's going to happen, and you're just overjoyed with it, but also panicked at the same time. So it was a tremendous feeling to know that we were going to be able to make this step forward. One of the things that I cannot say thank you enough to the Pappajohn Center, because they were there with us through that whole process of the business plan, trying to pull the financing together, where we were going to end up, in which community when we were looking around, and their support, just the knowing they're there to answer the questions that we had. I can't say thank you enough.